I'm Alex Castle. Normally I'm with Maximum PC, but today I'm here with MacLife to show you how to solder. For a little how-to today, I'm going to use two sides of a single wire, but obviously normally you would use two different wires, or a wire and an LED or a circuit board, something like that. And you join them by basically gluing them together with liquid metal. The way you do that is with a soldering iron, which we've got over here. With a soldering iron, you need to have something to wipe up excess solder. A wet sponge is great for that. And you need solder itself. There are two different kinds of solder. There's electronic solder and also plumbing solder. Obviously, if you're doing electronics, you want electronic solder. And also you want a kind that has flux built in. So it'll say something like rosin core on it. You need a tip cleaner. That's an acidic paste. It helps you clean off extra corrosion from the soldering iron. If you can see on here, the soldering iron tip is not silver, it's more of a bronze color. That's oxidation, which is going to make it hard to get a good bond and hard to melt the solder, basically. The tip cleaner, you just basically rub it on there, wipe off the extra, and already you see the tip is a lot more silver. And finally, once you're done soldering, you need something to protect the joint from harm and to insulate it. For that, the most common thing is electrical tape, normal electrical tape. I like to use heat shrink tubing. It's a little tube you put over it. You heat it up and it shrinks right down onto the wire. First step, if you're using the heat shrink tubing, you need to put it on before you solder anything. Usually that's going to, because once it's soldered, usually you've got a complete circuit and you can't get it on there. So you cut off an amount that's big enough for the joint, and you just slip it over the wire. Next, you join the wires in question. Basically, you just want them to be making contact in as many places as possible. I like to kind of hook them around each other and then twist. And once you're done with that, it's time to solder. A common beginner mistake is to take your soldering iron, melt a big glob of solder onto it, and then just kind of smear this solder all over the joint. And that's not going to work very well. You're going to get a terrible joint. You don't want to do that. Instead, if you've done what I've just done, wipe off the solder, put just a tiny bit of solder on the tip, just enough to allow it to make contact with the wire real well, and heat the joint up. And then once the joint has been heating for a couple of seconds, touch the solder to the other side of the joint. That way the joint itself will melt the solder. You get a good, clean, it'll suck the solder right into the joint, and it'll cool real fast. You don't have to worry about it staying liquid for long. And when you're done, it'll look silvery and smooth, no crinkles, no cracks. If it does that, you know you're in trouble. And it'll be firm. And that's about it. And once your joint is soldered, all that's left is to protect it, either again using electrical tape or the heat shrink tubing. With the tubing, you just cover the joint like this and heat it up. You can do it with a lighter. We actually have a full-on heat gun, which makes it very easy. If you watch closely, you can see the tubing shrink before your eyes. And just like that, you have one soldered and protected joint. I'm Alex Castle. See you next time.